Exactly.
You know what I mean? And you can all equally define yourself by the people that hate you. You know.
Hmm.
So I mean, obviously Justin Trudeau is. I mean, I just wanted to bring this subject up and play that clip because this is someone we're watching. You know.
And as much as he has said that he's not interested in the Liberal leadership, I mean, that is so far away in comparison to the NDP leadership, which is well underway, and the leadership candidates are not only named and in action and presenting their positions, which are all very similar, but the Liberal leadership convention, we still don't know who all's going to come forward. And wouldn't surprise me in the end to see Justin Trudeau at least get up and make a go at it, So
Absolutely not. I think that's. Although he said he won't, but he's gonna. We know that. Whatever.
right.
They're clearly grooming him, and but that having been said, you're right. The NDP leadership is much more prominent on our radar screen right now. What have you been hearing?
Well, I thought it was interesting. One of the points that I think was made in the I think it was the Toronto Star, was it talked about what other parties are thinking, both the Conservatives and the Liberals, considering the candidates, and it was talking about Thomas Mulcair. And Thomas Mulcair, for those who don't know, is polling the highest among NDP members.
Yeah, where are you getting your poll? Which poll? Is it the one that Dewar's campaign released?
That was the most recent one, which put Mulcair at 25% of first choice.
Yeah.
And I think Peggy Nash at around 17 second choice. Third choice, Paul Dwyer got somewhere around 13%. And then I think fourth place was Cullen with 12.8, and fifth place was the former front runner Brian Topp with 12.7.
Yeah.
And so
and then don't forget the rest of the field. Nikki Ashton.
That's right. It gets smaller and smaller. I was surprised to see that Romeo Saganash had less support than Martin Singh. I mean,
yes,
that kind of
I was kind of shocked about that too. I was really shocked about that. In fact,
and we know now
I believe that Romeo
Saganash
Saganash came in at a lower percentage in terms of NDP support than the Native population represents as a percentage of the Canadian population.
Yeah. Which isn't a great sign, I guess, to show that I guess there isn't a lot of maybe there isn't a lot of Native membership or Aboriginal membership in the NDP party.
Yeah.
But he obviously was unable to.
Or maybe they're just not casting their vote according to race.
Maybe they don't consider him to be the prime candidate.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I feel kind of weird about even bringing that up, but. Okay, I take that back.
Nonetheless, I mean, it's a point to be made. But Romeo Saganash also claimed he had some concerns close to home that he had to deal with.
Yeah.
And between his low support and that, he decided, and I got to commend him.
I think it's very appropriate. Out of the people that are clearly in this race simply to build a name for themselves, Romeo Saganash did the right thing, and as these horses come down in the stretch here, he dropped out and let his supporters decide who they really want to get behind.
Yeah, he hasn't even. I don't
cetera.
think he's put his name behind anyone else. He just kind of said that he was going to pull out, and he did.
Smart. It's really smart. And besides, I mean, he positions himself to be included in any future cabinet, no matter who the leader is. You know what I mean? If you sure wouldn't want to. Snub one of the top three, thinking that they're going to remember that, and you're going to get a crappy portfolio in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that regardless of whichever poll we're looking at, except for Brian Topp's poll that he released, right, who put Topp number one.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah,
did it really?
Brian Topp's poll puts Brian Topp at number one, but he didn't put anyone. He didn't even, as far as I could tell from my browsing of the Intratubes. He just said, "Oh, we did a poll and we're at number one at 28%." And
we
didn't
called
even say
Brian Topp 3,000 times and asked him, "Who are you going to support, Brian Topp?"
Yeah, exactly. So
and 2,998 times out of 3,000, he said Brian Topp.
The other two times, I don't know what he was saying.
He got confused.
Yeah,
he thought he had to make it look real.
Yeah, but anyway, so it just goes to show that every poll I've seen so far, and there hasn't been many, but they may not be meaningful either. But
Well,
everyone's kind of
Paul Dwar's poll. At least it came, it came from him without it being something. I mean, I know that Paul Dwar is also putting a spin on it, saying between his third place showing in first choice, he is also the number one second choice.
yes.
Apparently.
Now that's a very important number. Okay, that's a very important number. Now it bears mention that in Paul Dwar's survey, Paul Dwyer comes first in terms of people's second choice. Peggy Nash second with 19.4%. Mulcair is third. Now I didn't think that Mulcair would be doing that great in terms of people's second choice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Being reputedly a more polarizing figure. I certainly didn't think that Nathan Cullen would be anybody's second choice. Because either I think Nathan Cullen has most of his support based on his personality, but primarily on his stance in terms of advocating for Liberal and NDP cooperation. So either you like that idea or you don't. You don't kind of like that idea. You're not going to, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it's a huge voting issue if you're considering a Nathan Cullen. But apparently he's fourth place in terms of people's second choices with 14.4%. But one thing I'd like to point out in terms of these numbers, especially with the second choice, is that when you see Peggy Nash at 19.4% of people's second choices, those second choices are not relevant unless that support comes from people who are going to drop off the ballot, right?
Exactly.
So if all of Peggy Nash's second choice support comes from Thomas Mulcair's camp, well, she's not going to pick up that because Mulcair is going to be in it to the end. Do you know what I mean? So when you consider who your second,
we would really need a poll that would show each person's first choice with their second choice to really get an idea of how that second choice is going to work out.
Exactly. Because but if Peggy Nash's 19.4% comes from Brian Topp and Nikki Ashton combined, and who could conceivably drop off in the second or third ballot, right? Mm-hmm. Then come that time when all of that support goes to her, boom, she's going to be looking at a hell of a lot of support that nobody else is going to gain once those two people drop, and she's going to gain all of it. It'll propel her to first place. So where that second place support comes from is at least as important as the amount of second choice support.
Right. And, so are you suggesting that you think that this might really be a two-horse race right now between Mulcair and Peggy Nash?
No, and I'm not at all. I'm suggesting it's completely unpredictable.
Okay.
So, it's interesting just to talk about some numbers because it gives you something to hold on to. But, I mean, when you really consider it, there's nothing to hold on to, you know?
No.
So, anyway, the whole discussion, according to me, should result in us agreeing that we don't have any clue who's going to win this or who's even in first place. Which is kind of interesting, you know? Which is very interesting.
Now, the only other thing that I could say, too, is, other than I haven't seen that Brian Topp poll you mentioned, but from the ones that I have seen, Brian Topp seems to have sunk down to fourth or fifth place in most of these other polls. And even though I know in the French debates they said that there were only really two people on stage, Brian Topp and Thomas Mulcair, who showed that they were completely fluent in French, I don't think that Brian Topp has made much use of his original. He came out of the gate. I don't even want to say strong, but he came out of the gate with a certain amount.
Well, he's captured headlines, right?
Yeah,
he was able to capture headlines based on an Ed Broadbent endorsement of Roy Romano and all this kind of stuff. And he's recently captured headlines with Jack Layton's mom saying that, they're so close.
His fireworks may have went off too early.
That's true. That is true.
So,
but then again, he clearly was attempting to scare everyone else out of the race. Really, you know.
That's true. That may very well be true.
Didn't quite work. I can't think of an incredibly high-profile NDP person that had a legitimate shot that wasn't scared out of the race by this. Exactly. Charlie Angus, but I mean, that's the only guy that I was thinking that I would have liked to have seen run that didn't.
Yeah, I don't think Charlie Angus has ever said exactly why he chose not to, but we know now too that he's a member of the Paul Dewar team, and
Yeah.
that's who he's supporting in this run.
Yeah, and I think it's a non-starter because, like you said, that like most of these seats for the NDP has are in Quebec, and there was exactly two candidates that performed well in French in the French debate, and specifically, what I think we're talking about the same CBC article. The poll done of Quebecers after the debate said only two of the candidates demonstrated a level of comfort and fluency in French that they found to be satisfactory.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that is what it is. I mean, but Paul Dewar, in the same breath, they say Paul Dewar was absolutely uncomfortable. And afterwards, after that debate, Paul Dewar's campaign manager, or someone attached to his campaign, came out and said, well, yeah, Paul's not really good with languages. You know what I mean? Well, okay,
Right.
well, I mean, unfortunately, this isn't an English-only country, and, you're running for the leadership of a party that has most of its support in Quebec. It's
Mm-hmm.
a complete non-starter. You know what I mean? I hate to say that you have to choose your leader based on their ability to speak a language that I don't even speak. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I
Unfortunately, I
wish
don't
it was.
speak French
I wish
either.
I wish it was acceptable for him just to carry around a translator and have great ideas. You know what I mean? Or be the quality of individual that you need in the job. But apparently it's not, because Quebec is going to vote based on that, and we don't want to see a progressive party completely. How do you say, surrender Quebec to
Right.
whoever else based on choosing a leader that they won't vote for because it's not their language.
Well,
You know what I mean?
that's what's been suggested too, is that the Conservatives are actually hoping that Thomas Mulcair wins this race, because that would put in the opinion piece that I read.
Yeah, Chantal Hebert's piece.
Yeah, it would that
Yeah.
she was suggesting that would put the NDP's concerns firmly in holding Quebec, and not as solid on developing any of their possibility of gaining any of the 92 seats out west, and that she made the point that might be just fine for the Conservatives, because they don't have
Well,
a dog to run in the Quebec race.
here's the thing. Like, I have an enormous amount of respect for Chantal Hebert, but that piece was senseless to me. So the NDP should choose their leader based on if they can challenge Stephen Harper in Alberta. Are you insane? Like what?
No,
Or
but I think she
Saskatchewan?
made
Like,
more of a
no, that's what she was saying.
suggestion
I'm not
for
saying that.
BC
I'm saying
and
like
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan is completely untouchable. It's completely untouchable. They've even invented a party further right than the Conservatives to elect out there. They're conservative. Well, I forget the party's name, but their premier is Brad Wall. He makes Stephen Harper look like friggin' Nelson Mandela. You know what I mean? Seriously, there's nothing conservative enough for Saskatchewan.
But she also made the point, though, that the NDP do have, what is it? There's 72 seats in the West held by the Conservatives, and that the NDP holds about what is it? A quarter of that amount. So what is that? Somewhere in around 20 seats in the
Yeah.
West.
So
Which
you just really have to take when you're when you're the Liberal Party and you're the NDP Party, you have to kind of erase Saskatchewan and Alberta off the map. Just don't even think about those seats. So you're actually talking about BC.
BC,
Fair,
yeah,
fair enough.
yeah, that's fair enough.
So don't even, if you happen to pick up a seat or two in the Bible Belt, for lack of a better word, or the tar sands Bible Belt of the West,
Hmm.
then yeah, sure, cool, whatever. But don't devote any of your hopes and aspirations to succeeding in that area, and certainly don't put any money into it. Don't like parachute star candidates into the middle of the tar sands. You know what I mean? Like the
Right.
NDP.
For me, I
Yeah,
guess
let's run an
deal there is
environmentalist.
that
Right? Yeah, go
while
ahead.
you can't look at it as an immediate spot to gain traction, it can't be ignored either. I think that's very dangerous too, because if you give up without any sort of a fight, and I'm not saying that they still have to be reasonable about it. Obviously, you wouldn't want to take 75% of the money that you had as the NDP and put it towards
Yeah.
winning seats in Alberta.